Jim, what do you think of Friday the 13th Part 2?
I really enjoyed it. I liked it more than the first one. I thought that this was kind of like the classic Jason sort of thing, bunch of horny teens hanging out, and they split up and slowly get killed. Yeah, it was great. I thought, as you said at the beginning, the production quality was a lot better or higher than the first one. And
yeah.
This one, I feel like they paid a lot more attention to kind of artistic shots, I guess.
Yeah, I mentioned that knife, the shot where it goes from focusing on the knife to focusing on Vicky in peril. That's a pretty cool shot. There's a few others, but that's the one that stands out to me.
One of my favorite shots in this was when Ginny got to
Anything with Terry skinny dipping, big fan of those shots.
Yeah, no, it was when Ginny got to Jason's cabin, his shack, and she kind of thought she was safe, and then as she's standing there looking away from the window, you can see through the window Jason is like legging it to the shack, and that was terrifying. It was great.
A lot of cool stuff with shadows early in the movie too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, there was one thing where you see a shadow against the building, and you're thinking, oh, it's Jason. Then no, it's Crazy Ralph. So this goes back that long ago when he was still alive. Yeah, I like this movie too. I'm with you on preferring this to the original. I don't think I was until I saw it this most recent time. And I mean, I don't think it's like that much better than the first one, but it's a little better. I like the final girl more. I like Ginny more than Alice.
Mm-hmm.
I like Amy Steele as an actress. I've seen her in April Fool's Day.
The other thing that I thought was really neat was how the first Friday the 13th felt. In the first Friday the 13th, we as the audience felt isolated kind of along with the characters, just because of the way the camp looked, how far out in the woods it was, how long it took people to get out there by road. This one, it felt less isolated and kind of more normal, and that might have been because of like the nicer looking buildings in the camp, I guess, and that you see people going into the town and hanging out and having fun. But they still somehow managed to get a sense of that secluded lakeside setting that has become so creepy now for generations.
Yeah, and they could have even done more of it too had they shown those giant stairs earlier, because then you realize, oh, they're on a cliff too.
Yeah. I'm not really sure why, but it must just come down to production. I will say another thing that I really like about this movie is that I like the kills. I think I like all the kills. Except for, I guess, what's her name's? Tara's?
Vicky? Well, Terry we don't really see.
Oh, that's it,
Terry's an
Terry.
off-screen thing. Vicky's kind of an off-screen thing. I mean, we know what happens, but we don't see it. Scott's throat slit, a little disappointing just because the dull end of the machete looks kind of dumb.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a throat slit, and it's not as good as the throat slit in the first movie. That's an incredible throat slit. The garroting is always fun.
Oh yeah, that's good. But the only one that really stood out for me... Ice pick to the head is
always great.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I guess the only death that stood out for me from the first one was the Kevin Bacon death, I think.
We get an axe to the face. We get an awesome throat slit.
Oh, that's
what are
right.
you talking about? Mrs. Voorhees gets fucking beheaded.
That's true.
You're not. I mean, there's a lot of mediocre kills in that one, but the top tier of that is pretty darn good, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if we have anything quite as awesome as Kevin Bacon's here. I mean, the wheelchair death is more awesome, but in a different way for different reasons.
I laughed.
We've got a lot of just solid work here. Anyways, you want to run through my Friday the 13th checklist and see how this movie succeeds as a Friday the 13th movie? Yes, because
of course.
For those of you joining us, I can't remember, is it 9? I don't know, we can kind of blow through it quickly because some of these things are sort of obvious. But so we've got number 1, the sex appeal. Does this movie have it? Yes. Big time.
Absolutely. As
creepy as it is that Sandra has a sex scene and that actress is like 16 or 17, we get it. This movie's all about Terry. Let's face it. I mean, we get the gratuitous ass close up and then skinny dipping for no reason. It's shameless in that way that you like appreciate out of like a sleazy exploitation horror slasher movie. Like, I'm not arguing that this is actually good, but it's just enjoyable. I always admire that movies like this seem to understand just the lowest, basest desires of their audience. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. And I mean, for the most part, the nudity in this movie is done relatively tastefully. You know, like it's not like the skinny dipping is mostly from a distance. Yeah, like you don't see that much. The camera's not close up. The camera's close up on her ass when she's wearing shorts, but that's different. All right, so number 2, the kills. We already talked about that. It's good. Number 3, and this one, of course, was not a factor in the original. The number 3 thing that you need to make a good Friday the 13th movie is Jason does awesome things. I think that's lacking here.
Yeah, he doesn't really do anything awesome. He does a lot of running and walking.
The series took a while to truly discover who Jason was. I don't think they fully had it until the fourth one, but Jason at this point is just a guy. I mean, he gets kicked in the nuts. He struggles to get through locked doors. Like, he's not like an overpowering menace. And I mean, there's an appeal to that too. I mean, Jason as like a superhero or like, you know, this like indestructible Godzilla type creature. I mean, that's not for everybody. I get it, but that to me is what the series is all about, or would eventually be all about.
The only really cool thing he does, I guess, is the end when he jumps through the window.
Yeah, well, and Jason goes through a window in every movie, I'm pretty sure. At least one. That's his thing. That's his thing. We can keep a tally going.
Yeah, let's keep a window count.
All right. Well, we got 2 here because he got the hand through the window.
Yeah.
So I think it's just 2. Well, I guess he probably literally goes through a window, but an open window to kill Alice. Because I'm pretty sure that her door is locked. But I mean, that doesn't matter. That doesn't count. If we don't see it, it doesn't count. And we need glass breaking because that's the thing.
Did he go through any windows in the first one?
No, he's just a little kid who comes out of the water. That's all he does.
Oh, that's right. You're right. Sorry. Yeah. I totally forgot what the first one was about.
I mean, Mrs. Voorhees throws a body or 2 through windows. All right, so number 4, the final girl. We've got a pretty good one here, Ginny. A lot of people would say she's the best final girl in the series. I think she's probably my second favorite, but she's close. I mean, 1 and 2 for me are pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really comment because I don't think I've seen... I think I've seen only the shittiest Friday the 13th movies.
You've seen the 4th one. You've seen arguably the best.
I've seen... But I've also seen, what is it, Jason X, which is...
Yeah, Jason X, I think, was the first one I ever saw.
Yeah, and I saw...
and it didn't dissuade me enough from watching the others, believe it or not.
But yeah, I will say I really enjoy her character.
Well, first, I like her kind of relationship with Paul, where she's kind of one-upping him. She's like a lot smarter than him and makes him kind of dumb. Like that's a fun little relationship. Like when they play chess and he thinks he's got her, but then she's like, "Nah, checkmate, bitch." And I mean, like that stuff's fun. And the little child psychology stuff, is it kind of hackneyed? Sure, but it's something. There's a little bit of character there. So number 5, likable or relatable characters, i.e. like the supporting cast. Let's see, we've got a pervert. We've got... Vicky and Mark are fun. That relationship, they're kind of flirting. That stuff's fine. Jeff and Sandra are kind of boring.
Yeah.
Sandra's a little bit more interesting than Jeff because she's the one really interested in the Camp Blood stuff. Jeff is just kind of like, yeah, whatever.
I like Paul and Ginny. So I guess we've got enough relatable characters.
I'm thinking more supporting. So Paul works here. Ginny's separate. Ginny has her own category. All right, follow along here.
Yes. Sorry.
Sorry,
sir.
Formula. There's a formula, a very simple formula to all this. Terry. I mean, I don't like her for her character. Let's put it that way, because she doesn't really have anything to do with either.
I really identified with all the extras wanting to go drink, so I guess, that's...
Yeah, we've left out Ted, who, by the way, Ted drinks more than anyone in this movie, and he doesn't get killed. Good for him.
Yeah.
He made it. He's a goofy supporting character, kind of obnoxious, he plays pranks on people, and he doesn't get killed.
Good job. He might be the only character like that in the series that doesn't get killed, right?
Yeah, I feel like most other movies, like if a character shows up and has like a name and there's like some character there, they either die or it's like the final girl and maybe her boyfriend. It's like in the 5th one, like fucking everyone who breathes in that movie gets killed except for a few characters that do survive. Where it's like I don't feel like there are any incidental like supporting characters who really make it through. Number 6, the music. I mean, we've got our same ki ma 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 thing, but I'm going to say the score is much better in this movie than it was in the original. I like that there's this, I don't even know how to describe it. It's kind of like almost space sci-fi-y sounding.
Yeah.
You first hear it with the cop in the shack. You then hear it later when we get shots of the moon as Ginny's running around being chased. And then you hear it again when we go back to the shack. That little motif I like a lot. That's some really good music. But yeah, I mean, it's a similar score to the original. I mean, they're all similar scores.
Would we give it a pass on the music, or would we be like...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This is one of the better scores in the series. 2, 4, and 6, to me, are the scores that stand out. In so much as they can stand out, because they're mostly just variations on the original score. All right, number 7, the scares. Do you think this movie has good scares or no?
I'm trying to think. I was only kind of caught by 2 scares, and that was the cat at the beginning.
The cat? Okay, not the fridge, not the ice pick stuff?
No. I mean, because the only ones that startled me was when a cat, like, screeched and then jumped through the window. And then when, after Ginny was hiding, Jason punched a hole through the window to try to get at her.
Yeah, that one to me is the best one. Also, Jason through the window at the end is, like, decent, but you kind of know what's happening if you saw the first one.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's better than the stupid jump scare ending to the third one. That's like the worst thing ever. But yeah, the Jason punching through the window is the one that really stands out for me. I kind of like the Jason standing on the chair when she gets out from the bed, just because I
love that.
You don't see that coming. Even if you think like, okay, maybe he still is here and he knows she's there, you don't expect him standing on a chair.
Yeah, exactly. That was great.
I want to say Crazy Ralph getting garroted too is kind of neat because he's like right in front of a pole and you would have no reason to believe that there's someone right behind him, and that's pretty fun.
Yeah, you would have no reason to believe that like a 6'5" dude who weighs like 250 pounds can hide behind a pole.
All right, so number 8 for me is the fun factor, and this is mainly, at least for me, because this is the enjoyment I get out of some of these movies, is like I want to see characters who just for the longest time don't know they're in a horror movie and they're just like asshole teens just like hanging out, and I want to see that stuff because I like the contrast of that's going on. It's like a peaceful, almost like a teen comedy, and then boom, then it becomes a horror movie. And we get some of that. This is where the ass close-ups are important, right? This is where Scott being a little pervert who's trying to use Muffin the dog to get closer to Terry. Like this is where this stuff really pays off.
Yeah.
We don't get much of it. It's really just, other than that, it's kind of just, it's that, and then it's like Jeff and Sandra kind of wandering off to explore Camp Blood, which that stuff's just like whatever. It's mostly, this is the Scott and Terry stuff. We get skinny dipping for literally no reason, which that's always fun.
We get a bit of music at a bar, somebody playing electric guitar and a 12-string guitar in the background. I guess.
Oh yeah, that's right. And then there's also like Ted is kind of funny.
Yeah.
A little bit. So, the last, and I would argue least important category for a Friday the 13th movie. Number 9, the atmosphere. Does this movie have any atmosphere whatsoever? Because, don't get me wrong, most of them don't. At least most of them you kind of have to argue that they do. Like, these are not atmospheric horror movies, you know?
Yeah, I'd say this probably has, like, less atmosphere than the first one.
I agree. I'm thinking mainly the rain, right? Because it rains heavily in both films.
Yeah.
In the second half, towards the end. In both instances, the rain actually lets up for the climax, but everything leading up to that, it's raining heavily. In the first one, the rain had a big impact. It had a big impact on the movie and on the characters. It kept Steve Christie from being able to actually get back and help people out. It kind of made everyone uneasy. And, I mean, the rain was a big part of, it's kind of like the only atmosphere maybe you could say that movie had. But here it's just kind of like, it doesn't really matter that it's raining.
Well, I would say, kind of building off your point on the first movie, that the atmosphere of what would you call it? Secludedness?
Isolation.
Yeah, isolation. There we go. That's the word. That was very prominent. And I think because there's only one vehicle in that movie, right? And the lead camp counselor guy had it?
You get... No, Steve's car and Kevin Bacon's car.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, okay. Yeah, then in this one, like, people are out having fun in town, and people show up with like a big pickup truck with like giant tires and a crappy little VW. I don't know. It just felt not as isolated as the first one.
Again, stairs. Had we seen more of that, could have worked here.